With a 20-year reputation for clean business, Matt Glynn at Code Property Group is the first choice for real estate on the Sunshine Coast and surrounding areas. I've known Matt for a very long time from a personal level and professional level, and he is an excellent real estate agent. He's professional, he holds a high level of integrity, he presents incredibly well, and has a huge amount of knowledge when it comes to the real estate industry. So if you are in the market to buy, sell, or simply get a valuation and find out more about your current property, then give Matt a call on 0404 315 066 or matt.glynn, GLYNN at codepg.com. You won't be disappointed. All right, welcome back to another edition of the Paul's Body Engineering Podcast. Another special guest today in the Sunshine Coast. We've got Mr. Sports Nutrition himself, Alex Thomas. Welcome, mate. How are you?
Thanks for having me. I'm good. I'm loving life now that I'm officially in the Sunshine Coast.
You are a Sunshine Coast Red. We're just joking about that. Yeah, you're a local now. So yeah. Have you been to any good spots?
Heaps, man.
Yeah.
I probably I'll get to a beach like once or twice a week now.
Nice.
As I was saying to you beforehand, I still commute to Brizzy where the offices are 3 days a week. So I'm doing the hybrid life.
Yep.
City location wise, not like training and online. But I'm basically here 4 days a week now, which is awesome.
Good. Yeah. Unreal. So I thought we'd have a chat about sports nutrition because, as I said before, just off air, when we last did a podcast, it was Sports Nutrition Australia. It's changed a fair bit since then, hey?
Yeah.
It's now the Sports Nutrition Association. You're worldwide. You've got ambassadors and affiliates everywhere. You've got board directors, all these things. So do you want to give us a little bit of a take on the growth over the last probably 5 years?
Yeah, for sure. I still can't believe it's been that long.
Yeah, no, it's wild, hey?
Oh, man. Fucking hell. Sorry for swearing.
No, go for it. No, open mic, go for it.
Okay, sweet. So, we really, in 2019, we had our first conference on the Goldie, and I was talking things like claim stats and, the importance of rego and insurance, still beating that drum, but we had a bunch of, international speakers and colleagues of mine who I'd been working with just in terms of how to make the program better and how we can have impact in the industry to improve the standard. And they all came presented, and then they heard me speaking about this stuff. I did a 10, 15 minute presentation quickly to be like, hey, for those who are in attendance, they don't know who we are. This is a little bit about us. This is what we're doing.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. And after that, we're at the conference dinner, and then I had Sean from America and Helms from New Zealand, and they're all oh, we need this where we are.
Yeah, right.
And the crazy thing for me was I was at this point, because I was heavily affiliated with the ISSN, I just assumed that because the ISSN was primarily American and it was so big, they had so many members of the ISSN in America and they were tied to all these universities. I just assumed that it existed in the States.
Right.
Because sports nutrition, it's in every country and stuff, but I think this might just be my opinion, but I don't know, do you share it where 6 years ago, it was really a predominantly an American thing. Yes, Australia and the UK, we have our thing with it, but they were very much driving, that's where all the money was. The unis were all doing their things, all the supplement companies were there and pumping it.
Yep.
Bodybuilding was how long has it been since Phil Heath was winning? That was around the time where Phil Heath was dominating.
Yes.
There were the Olympia was big, so that to me, I was pretty blown away by that. And so there was basically, that is where the seeds planted, and it was let's talk about this and all that.
Okay.
And so basically that happened, and then at the same time we were doing things in New Zealand already.
Right.
But in it was very easy to do Australia and New Zealand. It was from an insurance perspective, it was the same policy. The underwriters and stuff, they didn't care. They basically view us as the same country.
Right.
So New Zealand had been going since 2018, late 2017, 2018. And that was basically what was happening. And then what we found by the time 2019 hit was that we were actually getting inquiries and people studying from Asian countries.
Yeah, okay.
And so they were using their English name to enroll, and then they were putting like relatives' family addresses in that were like Australian or New Zealand based. And so we weren't really aware of like who they were specifically and what their language and literacy skills were like until we were like halfway through the program, and we'd jump on like a tutorial online or something like that.
Yep.
And then we'd be like, oh wow, like your English is pretty bad and stuff. Like, I mean, this is I didn't say, no one else said your English is bad to them directly, but like that's what we were thinking. We're like, holy shit, like, you know, this person like only just get in Australia recently. Like it says they're in Melbourne and stuff. And so we were talking, and then we found out, oh no, like that's what they'd done, and they just wanted to do it, and we'd started to build that reputation. And it's funny you say that, like looking at like our growth and brand growth and like awareness, honestly, like Sports Nutrition Australia grew way quicker.
Yeah, wow.
And it wasn't just a thing where it was like smaller, so you notice the growth more or anything like that. I think it's just like that token Aussie thing. Like even in global markets, people were like, oh yeah, Sports Nutrition Australia, that's so fucking cool. Like the Aussies, it was just received really well. Whereas association, we made that change because, by the time we got to late 2019, early 2020, pre-COVID hitting, we had probably 10 people from Asian countries looking to enroll at every intake. And then we were getting US interest and some people in the UK and all that kind of stuff. And that was like a little bit just from like the US and UK markets, just from introductions from our colleagues.
Yeah, right.
And so we made the decision early 2020. I hit up the insurers and I was like, what does it look like to get these policies done for these people and stuff? Like, is it hard? And they were basically like, it's pretty easy. We can give you a list of countries that you can't go into that we wouldn't do a policy for. Okay. And that's smaller than the list of the countries that we will do. So like, there's like 20 something, and it's like, like war-torn republics, that type of stuff. Sure. It's been so long since I've looked at it now. So basically, I was like, cool, so let's get these policies. I thought, like America's landed the lawsuit. I thought it was going to take so long. It took like 2 weeks.
Yeah, wow.
It was like done. The American policy is the best policy. It's the cheapest policy. Like, we, like relative to Australia and New Zealand, we have the least amount. Like America is, we have less members in than we do Australia and New Zealand. So bit of a bummer, but like they just do things well over there. Like their systems are amazing. They were the first online policy in terms of people could just take it out online. It was really quick. They were the first to do online training and nutrition out of all the countries as well. Like bit of a random side note.
Yeah.
People listening probably won't care, but I just found that really interesting because like Australia took like 18 months.
Yeah.
UK took it was like 3-4 months, something like that.
Okay.
Again, like typically when you got your first one and you've got, data and runs on the board and stuff, they'll be a bit quicker. But I was expecting it to be longer. And then at that point, then it was like, cool, I want to form an advisory board to come together and like help grow this stuff and improve it and nurture it and all that stuff.
Yep.
And so I then spoke to the Erics and the Seans and the people that I was working with. I'm like, do you have recommendations? At this point, Eric Helms was working with Dr. Cliff Harvey from New Zealand. It introduced us to him. We then started partnering up with the Holistic Performance Institute that he runs there. Yeah. And then got introduced to Eric Trexler. Lauren Conlon I'd already met at an event in 2019. And I was like, she'd be great. And then Helms linked us up. And then Dr. Joe and Eric were working on the NCGM, which doesn't, I don't think they do it anymore. There's something happening in that space. They stopped running it as frequently, and they're going to do something else instead.
Okay.
And so which was like the Nutrition Coaching Global Mastermind.
I remember, yeah.
And then Dr. Gabby Fundaro was doing that. So we were like, oh, like this, we could just take what we've got with this, combine that, people who were doing that, we can then form a board, all that stuff. And it just sort of went hand in hand. And then basically like COVID hit as this was happening.
Yeah, right.
And I was thinking to myself, okay, like, what does this mean? I don't really know. Like, I was, it was funny. Like we were saying before as well, like COVID for me was like quite an enjoyable time because a year or so before I was like I'd stopped all my like almost all my client based work.
Yep.
In a like an in-person setting. So I was working from home, living at home,
Yep.
studying from home, and I was getting like the lockdown anxiety and stir craziness that people had.
Yeah.
I had that not because of COVID. I just self-imposed it.
Yeah.
Went 2 or 3 months later and was like, why am I feeling all weird and all this kind of shit? And then sort of did it to myself. And so by the time that COVID hit, I already had like good routines with things.
Yep.
And then all these work opportunities were happening, and I was just like, fuck yeah, like, I'm just going to go head down, ass up and focus on all this kind of stuff.
Yep.
And the focus was really, at that point in time as well, like I knew the industry was going to get absolutely smashed because so many people were face-to-face.
Yep.
And prior to that, I was saying like, hey, you should be looking at this stuff, adding nutrition in a legitimate way, so that way you're not like screwed in a like you're not limited to just a single location.
Yep.
That's if you're sick, if you go on holidays, like you're not earning. And so it's one of these things where at that point I then like this stuff was happening globally, board wise and stuff, and then the focus just became like, shit, the industry is going to get annihilated. Let's help as many people as possible. And so we were doing probably like 90 to 100 people in intake. Wow. COVID hit, and that was like 4 intakes a year. So we were like, okay, we're going to have 400 people come through. At that point, maybe like 30-35% weren't intending to practice. They just wanted to learn for themselves.
Sure.
So we were probably adding 250 to 200 to 250 new practitioners a year. And then COVID hit, and it was like, we basically said, even if you don't have the money, we'll effectively like just let you pay a tiny deposit. Let us know what you can afford. I think it was cheap. It was like, if you can do $150 a month, we'll let you do it, so that way you can add this in. And so our intakes went from like 90 to 100 to like 135.
Yeah, wow.
And we were bursting the seams a bit. Like we had to recruit a couple more people to help assessor wise and support wise. Delinquency rates weren't good. So like of those people, it was probably like 40% weren't able to like pay it or anything like that. And then, that type of stuff. And so like, it was a very charitable thing to do. Like, and it was a very like the intention was very much like to do that. If I had my time again, I'd screen a little bit harder and do things slightly differently.
Sure.
There'd be a way to help people without exposing us to like, additional, like unnecessary risk that would then distract from, like ultimately if an assessor's working with someone that ghosts them for 3 weeks or something like that, and they're trying to chase them up and support them or whatever it is, it's like that's taking away from the ones that they could be helping. So it was a good learning lesson, but there was like 18 months that was like happening. And so basically while that was happening, and I'm like, let's just help as many people as possible, the team was growing, and then the stuff was happening with the association, and it was like, okay, like America's been approved, UK's been approved, Asian policies are approved, European countries, that's a country specific thing. I say country specific thing. It's similar to the States in that there's like you've got a policy for like that region. Yep. So like in like the United States policy. In the US, you've got all these different states with state by state rules and regulations. Yep. And so there's certain states where you can only work as a nutrition professional if you're a dietitian. Yeah, that's the law.
Right.
And so, and then there's others where you don't need any qualification whatsoever. Well. And so it's just, you got to know that stuff. And it's the same thing for Europe. So like we basically what happened was we then added all this stuff. We said, hey, we can do this. And then it was like, wow, now we've got like the heat map of all the rules and regs that we have to learn, and then, stay up to date with all the changes and all that kind of stuff. Okay. And so, it sort of took on its own course of its own, for that period. And then I would say it was probably like 2022, end of 2022 that things started to settle down, and we were able to go, okay, like where are we? And at that point we were probably sitting at, I would say about 550 professional members at that point. 450 would have been from Australia.
Okay.
And then and 100, like 100 would have been probably like 40 from New Zealand and then 60 from other countries. And then we were just like, all right. When we first formed the association, we were like, okay, what's the mission? We, ensuring the sustainable prosperity of the profession. That was our thing. And so since then, we just really worked on like refinement, doubling down on like all the things that we need to do better internally before we look to go for like an aggressive growth period or anything like that.
Yep.
So it was like making sure that we get the right people, make sure the right people are in the right seats, doing the right things.
Yep.
Make look at like getting really clear on our things. So like a big thing, especially even in the last like 18 months, is getting really clear on things like at a mission and a vision level,
Yep.
And then what that looks like. Because I say to you, ensuring the sustainable prosperity of the profession sounds good and like it's great, but everyone, it's like that saying, like a picture like paints 1,000 words or whatever it is.
Yep.
Everyone has their own subjective interpretation of that.
Of course.
So it's like, how do we, what we focused on is like, how do we communicate it in a way where it distills into a singular understanding? So that way when people come in, they have a singular focus. They know that this is what we're here for. And so what we worked out is that we'll still keep that tagline in some capacity, but the mission really is to protect and empower the public and the profession as well.
Okay.
And then as a result of doing those things, then we improve the industry.
Yep. Makes sense.
And so it's like, that helped us understand that we're really a social enterprise. We're here to have a positive impact on both society and the profession.
Yep.
And if we're doing that, then we know the industry is getting better.
Yeah.
And so if we've done that, we know that people are getting safe, effective, client-centered, evidence-based nutrition services.
Yep.
And so that helps clarity a bit more. And then what we did was go, okay, well, like, how do we measure that? And so that's where we go, all right, well, for every member, like we want to get to 10,000 professional members. That's our organizational milestone. Right. And at why 10,000? Because we know that every member on average works with 25 to 30 people in a year. Okay. You're going to have people like yourself that have probably like 80 people on your books at any given time.
Yep.
And then you've got people who have 5.
Yeah.
And so every year for the last 4 years, we've audited the members, surveys, all that kind of stuff. How many clients are you working with? What's the, what's your average revenue? All that kind of stuff. We've got our averages, we've got our medians, all that kind of stuff. So we know. And so, we know that we can safely say that it represents 25 to 30 people, and that if you've got 10,000 professional members, we know that that means that every 3 to 4 years, on average, that's 1 million lives that are going to be positively impacted through that.
Absolutely.
And so that's it, right? So protect and empower the public and the profession and improve the standard. Mm-hmm. And then 10,000 professional members for 1 million lives every 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Unreal.
Hopefully that answered the question.
Yeah, I think it does. That's. I mean, when you like, just a question without notice. When you first started this out, and obviously, you had a pipe dream in terms of what it looked like. Did you ever envisage it being international?
No way.
Yeah.
No way. I 100% fell into this. This started to cover my ass.
Yep.
I think I said this on the 5 years ago.
Yeah,
this is all this was, and something that I say frequently internally with my team and colleagues and stuff, and I probably have never said on a podcast, maybe I've said it once or twice, is like, if someone was already doing this, I just would have been helping them.
Yeah, right.
Like, because it's a lot easier. This sounds so stupid, but it's a lot easier to just, like, if someone has the stuff and they can see it clearly,
yep,
to just support that.
Yeah.
Rather than to sit in this space, like, with it.
Break the ground yourself.
But now that I'm here, would I change anything? No.
No.
It's just one of these things where I had there was nothing like that. It was just like, cover my ass, have this thing.
Yep.
Then it was like, oh, this is needed and all this kind of stuff. And it's really cool. And it's something where, like, way, way, way into the future, I won't be at the helm doing stuff.
Yep.
There'll be better people who can do a better job at a certain point in time, and they'll do it. But I'll always be involved because it's just something where I'm like, hey, that's so cool.
Yeah.
For where it's turned into, that I always want to be a part of.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. But never, man, never. No. This sounds like a lot of it is just like fluky luck and a little bit of skill to be able to listen to key things when things are like that, like have happened. So it's like, you know, like, I don't even know what the year was, but, you know, maybe it was like 2016 or something, and the insurers were like, okay, well, like, we've approved the policy and you've got a few people, and like the word of mouth's kicking off and people want to do it, and they're like, well, if you want to keep this going, you'll need so that way you guys are covered, like, and you can keep your cover as a practitioner, you'll need to like set up a professional body to like regulate this.
Yep.
And so, like, you know, some people, or even myself on a different day, would hear that and be like, oh, fuck, whatever, or just ignore it in one ear out the other and you forget.
Yep.
I just happened to, at that point in time, be like, oh, yep, cool, that's what you're doing. And I'm like, okay, shit, well, like, what have I got to do?
Yeah. Okay.
And so it's just like little things like that I would hear along the way, or like at the conference dinner in 2019, and, oh, like, we need this too and we don't have it and stuff. And it's like, oh, okay, like it's like, if, I don't know, something sparks and it's like, well, that sounds cool, and there's like alignment here, so like let's do something. And
it's a sliding doors moment.
That like there's just been a few of those along the way. It probably happens every 1 to 2 years on a few key things, and it's like, yeah, that makes complete sense. Let's do that. But it's never been like, oh, I want to do this.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. More organic than anything else.
Yeah. Even with the project that I was talking about before, that I won't talk too much now in this thing.
Yep.
But even with that, the intention that started the thing that I spent 18 months on beforehand isn't what it was. And that thing looked so bad. Like, basically, I got to the point where, like, I was looking at I'd spent 18 months on a project, and then I was looking at, like, I finally got all this information. I dealt with some consultants that were dodgy at first. That's a whole thing. But then I was with consultants that were really good toward the end, and then we're getting all the models and stuff and looking at it, and had all the financial models and stuff, and it's like, okay, great. Awesome. And then it was October 2023. OpenAI drops like in the techie space, everyone knows OpenAI is doing stuff. ChatGPT is looking pretty good, and it's going, and it's like, whoa, this thing's fucking good. And so at that point, and then by like November, December, the world started to know ChatGPT, all this kind of stuff. AI is coming, and at that point, I was like, I'm pulling the pin on this thing, because in order to facilitate this stuff, what we would need to charge for it.
Yep.
I couldn't in good conscience do it. Just for what we need to charge for to break even, let alone to have a profit.
Sure.
To go, like I don't even know what people are going to be doing in like 5 to 10 years time. So I'm like, it effectively was something that related to them having to take on, you know, like potentially, just like it was stupid. So at that point, I call up the consultants and I'm like, I'm going to pull the pin on this. Ethically, I can't progress with this. It doesn't make sense. Don't know where the world's going, all that kind of stuff. And one of my consultants turns around and goes, oh, well, like, yeah, that makes complete sense. Let's just do it like this instead.
Yeah, right.
And so that's how it then turned into what is now the thing, and then hopefully it comes through, and then we'll talk about that then. But like that was one of those things again, and it was just like, I don't know, the skill is like not being completely switched off and like listening, I guess, but everything else is just luck, because it's not like there's no skill in like people telling me shit that I need to do.
Yeah, okay. I get what you're saying.
You know what I mean? It's just that, like, the skill is like maybe listening and not being a dumbass.
Yeah.
Because I'm a dumbass, man. Like 90% of the time, I'll be head down. I'll be like, you know, head down, bum up, just be doing stuff, tunnel vision, you know, like just focused. And it's just sheer fluky luck that like at those points in time, I'm listening really well.
Well, maybe there was a purpose in that, right?
Yeah, probably. I don't know. So yeah, that's that.
You just mentioned obviously ChatGPT and AI. That's a good segue. What change do you see that having in this space, in this industry, and has it influenced? Because obviously you can go onto ChatGPT and say, write a meal plan. Yeah. Right? Those sorts of things.
Have you seen them? Have you done it?
I haven't really played around with it extensively.
They suck.
Yeah, I've heard that it's
at the moment
hit and miss.
Yeah, but the it's one of these things, like I use AI a lot.
Yep.
And, like with what I do, and exercise programming, rehab stuff, it's amazing.
Yeah, okay.
Like it is really good. Like a friend of mine is one of the like top sports chiros, and like duly qualified sports chiro, sports physio in the country, and he's like honestly, some of the programs that it writes are better than what I would write.
Yeah, wow.
So,
so what does that mean for the landscape then? If someone can just go and get one?
Well, and that's the thing. That's why he's so hands on, right?
Okay.
So like, unless they do, like, eventually, I'm sure there'll be like robots that do like massages and stuff and manual therapy, and they're going to be way better. But at the moment, he's pretty good. But the people, like, if you're an online coach just doing programming and stuff, and you're not even like looking at the nutrition, you're up shit creek.
Yep.
In terms of nutrition, it's pretty shit at the moment. Do I think it's going to stay like this forever and for long? No. I think like where it is with exercise and rehab and stuff, it's going to be like that with nutrition, I don't know, within a year or two.
Sure.
Like it's coming. And so, to all the macro coach Steves out there, you're up shit creek. So yeah, but like even like to give you an idea, like even just doing recipes and getting it to tell you the macros for the recipes, it's so wrong.
Yeah, wow.
So you're like, I'll add this in and I'll add this in and I'll add this in.
Yep. Man,
the macros that it spits out are so like I fed it this recipe for like a paleo brownie thing. Soulbreads would do this paleo brownie slice, and it was like so good. I don't even know if they still operate or anything. Shout out to Soulbreads if they do or don't. It was awesome, and it like had a fair bit of fiber in it, so you could. It was like made with egg whites, almond meal, bit of coconut oil, cocoa. Obviously, it was like this chocolate flavored paleo brownie, high in fiber, high in protein. It was like 20 grams or 19 grams of protein a serve. Maybe like 20 grams of carbs, 13 grams of fat, but it had like 12 grams of fiber.
Right.
So like if for people like us, like, and we're like, okay, I'm not exercising at this time, I want to have a serve of protein, and like I need like for me, I would always go like, I'd have a shake and want that, and that would be like away from training.
Yep.
If I just needed to get a hit of protein and some good like decent nutrients in me pretty quickly, I could do that. I could eat it within 2 minutes and I'd be done. Anyway, I was like, I want to see what it says. So I put all the ingredients in, and it's like, it said like 20 grams of fiber and like 8 grams of fat. I was like, there's no fucking way. Like, this thing was so wrong, man.
Yeah, wow.
So I've done it with that. I've done it with like just basically like creamy recipes. So like half a Rokeby Farm with like a scoop of protein powder and some of the instant pudding mix.
Yep.
And it like spits it out, and it's like, and it'd say like 9 grams of carbs or something like that. And it's like half a Rokeby is like immediately like 15 grams of carbs. Like, just that. Then you got the protein, then you got the pudding mix. Like, it's probably closer to 20 anyway. So yeah, just things like it's not really good with that. In terms of, but I mean, like, that stuff's just one aspect of nutrition and like being a nutrition service provider. The other stuff is your connection, your coaching,
customization,
and that's where all the magic is anyway. So it's like, what do I think is going to happen to the industry? I think it'll just be a case where it's like the people who don't have those skills, so soft coaching skills, the ability to connect, they're up shit creek more than they were before. They were never in a good position anyway. And that's something that we say for like all the people coming in. Like, we've got a unit in the program at the moment. It's called Business for Nutrition Service Providers.
Okay.
And so in that unit, they have to do a business plan for themselves for how they want to be a practitioner.
Okay.
And then we tell them that it's like, okay, this business plan needs to factor in like your conversion rate and your conversion rate as you're starting. So it's going to be shit.
Yep.
And then you got to factor in churn rate. So like your retention, you're not going to have the best retention when you start because you suck. But it's
true. It's reality.
It's like anything you learn, right? It's like learning a squat, learning whatever. Like, you suck.
Yeah.
And so the good news is like you're with us and you have our support for the next like 21 weeks. So 21 to 25 weeks, and so you can fail forwards with our support. But like, we've got to help you come into the industry eyes wide open. And so the skills that we want to really impart on them is the ability to connect, the ability to critically think, and the ability to coach.
Yep.
And that's the same 3 things that we look for as an employer with them as well. It's like, if you can't connect, if you can't critically think, and you cannot coach, you can't work with us, because our our most commonly employed and recruited role is what we call like an assessor career advisor.
Yep.
And so they're people who, pre-COVID, I had a sales team that was separate to the assessors.
Right.
Whereas now what we do is every inquiry gets handled by an assessor, and that assessor then takes those people on when they accept their enrollment.
Okay.
And the reason being was because the salespeople were selling everything.
Yep.
Selling them bullshit sometimes. And then they get to the assessors and they'd be like, why the fuck did someone say this to you?
Yeah, right. Okay.
And they were just doing it to try and get like incentives and stuff.
Of course. Yeah.
Whereas now the assessors are people who they screen them and they're like, do I want this person as my student? And that sounds a bit pompous, but like they have that frame. And then they also have the frame of, and more importantly to do I want this person as my student, they have the frame of, do I think this person can succeed? And can I help them?
Yep.
And so they need to be able to connect with the person. They need to be able to coach the person because that person's coming to you and you got like 21 to 25 weeks to be able to get them to a point where they're going to be able to positively impact lives and be one of those members who, you know, stays with us in the long term. And so that's only been something that has been in the program for the last 2.5 years, maybe 3 years now.
Okay.
So it's not been a super long time that it's been in there. And part of the reason that we had that was we were seeing data. Like we've got our like our 3-year provisional period in our program. Like when I say program, like the association program.
Yes. For
our levels of registration. And so that whole thing like confuses people, and it's confusing as fuck. And I'm on the inside and I understand it all. So basically, I'll give an explanation for that, then I'll come back to what I was saying. But basically, the Australian and New Zealand government have these standards for occupations that they set for that have minimum qualifications.
Okay.
And so these standards are called the ANZCO standards, so ANZ SCO, and it's on the Australian Bureau of Statistics website is where they publish this stuff, and it stands for Australian New Zealand Standard Classification of Occupations.
Okay.
And so what it says there is that nutrition professionals have a qualification commensurate with a bachelor's degree or higher.
Right.
And so what that means is you got to have a level 7 or higher qualification. So what we managed to, I guess, like negotiate with the commissioners and ombudsmans, and we got certification marks with the ACCC and stuff, was they go, how do you quality control this as a professional body? How are you quality controlling this, and how are you adhering to ANZCO? And one of the things that we said was like, well, we long term we adhere to it, but we don't feel good about saying to someone, you need to spend 40, 50 grand on a degree and go do these programs that have prac in the final year when they're 30 grand deep, and the prac isn't really relevant to what the work is. You know, so what we want to do is say, do this program and find out if this is for you. And so we proposed 4 years, and then it was like 2, and then met in the middle at 3, to work out if it's for them.
Okay.
And what confuses people is they think every single person who comes through has to adhere to that. And it's like, no, only if this is all you're doing for your living.
Yep.
So like if someone's doing it part-time, or someone is doing it like, I think I have 5-10 clients on the side, you know, we get members who are like, I have to, you know, go and do a degree now or a grad dip or something. And it's like, no, like only if you like, this is what you do. You are full-time in the industry doing this, then that becomes relevant. If you're like an investment banker and you like triathlons and you've got a few triathlon clients on the side,
yep.
There's this thing called like you just apply and you get your provisional extended every year. It gets granted because it's like you aren't that full-time professional doing this stuff.
Yep.
You know, people like what I was before I was doing all S&A stuff, people like yourself, our colleagues like the Joeys and all that kind of stuff. Hey, you got to go do your, you know, thing in some capacity. We got to comply with ANZCO there because the government makes the rules.
Yep.
So we don't really have a choice. But that's that side of things. So sort of segueing back to what I was saying, we identified that a number of members, while they had that confusion and stuff, early on when we didn't have that business unit, there was just a higher turnover.
Okay.
And so people, and definitely the misunderstanding around the 3-year provisional thing contributed to it. Because they'd be like, I don't want to go do a degree and stuff. And like 3/4 of the people doing that weren't even working in the industry in a capacity that it was relevant to them to do it.
Yep.
And so we definitely lost members because of that. And like that sucks, but it is what it is. But we we can fix that. The solution to that is more awareness around that.
Absolutely.
More information.
Yep.
Hey, make you aware, this is what it is, this is how we can do it. We can solve that. the thing that I wasn't okay with is that people were coming through and they weren't coming in eyes wide open for the reality of the industry.
Yeah.
The industry was smacking them, and then we were losing good practitioners who would have made it in the long term if they were just better prepared for what the industry like really was.
Yep.
And so that's where I was like, this sucks. We got to fix this. And so, we then added that in, and like we'd seen, like, you know, like we have a concept that we talk about in the program. We talk about to the members, and it's like just to keep them adhering to connecting to people. And we talk about, it's called the 8 and 2. Have 8 conversations a week and do 2 consultations. Doesn't matter who it's with. 8 combos. It could be friends. It could be family. Doesn't mean that you're doing the consults with them. You're just talking to them about something to do with this. It could be colleagues. It could be randoms on the internet. You know, like, don't cold DM people and annoy them. But it can be like someone comments on your post and then you start a conversation in the DM. These are organic conversations. And when I know I'm preaching to the converted here, when I'm saying this, but like, because you would just do this so organically and authentically, and the amount of conversations that you would have in a week that are just organic conversations would be far greater than 8.
Yep.
But yeah, so like when you're aware of it, you be like you realize how much opportunity there is, and so that for us is like the 5 and 2, the 5 veg and the 2 fruit. We got our 8 and 2.
Yep.
So it's like just 8 and 2 and maintain that. And then when you get real busy, drop it to 4 and 1.
Yep.
But then you get better and your skills get better. So that 4 and 1 becomes 4 and 2. So you might need to drop it to like 3 or 2 and 1. But you have to maintain that.
Always.
And so, yeah, those concepts in that business plan and making them aware that like when people are talking to us, it's like, guys, you know, we get inquiries, oh, what jobs can I do? And we just tell them like bluntly, 99% of the work is in private practice.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Even though we've got data that says it's like 92%, we just tell them like it's 99%.
Yep.
We don't want people coming in ill-prepared for the realities of it. And so, you know, going back to that Ansco thing and how we were like saying, like in good conscience, we don't want people 30, 40 grand in the hole before they're, you know, getting into their final year and then doing prac and then going all that stuff. Like, oh shit, maybe this isn't for me. If the prac's relevant, which a lot of the prac isn't, you know, we were like, part of what we said to them was like when we were negotiating this was like, it doesn't matter if you do this degree or not, you have the same problem that you have to solve.
Yep.
Where am I getting clients from and how do I help the people long term? And so we would rather someone spend 6 months, not as much money, as opposed to, you know, say 6 months and now 5 grand, as opposed to 3 to 4 years and 40 to 50 grand, to then have to work out how to solve those problems.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, fortunately for us, the failure rates of, you know, the weird and wonderful iterations of like exercise and like sport and exercise and nutrition through to nutrition science or human nutrition and even dietetics, the failure rates in private practice are all pretty like uniformly anywhere between 60 and 80% of new grads fail in the first 12 months.
Yeah, okay.
In private practice. But it's like the pracs aren't in private practice. Like the private practice that they do is like, you're shadowing someone doing a consult. So you're not going out and talking to people.
No, you're not.
You're not dealing with cold leads. You're not dealing with warm leads. You're not generating referrals. You're not getting buy-in from that person with that. Even like in the clinical nutrition clinics, that's a student clinic. Yep. Randoms are coming from the street. So yes, you have to get buy-in for them to follow the plan. But randoms are coming in because they know they get a discount.
Yeah.
And they're not going to go see you when you move half the time. It's not the same thing.
No.
And so that's why we went, we crafted this unit specifically for that, because we were talking with a couple of the unis, we were talking with some of the RTOs, and we're like, guys, it'd be like good if you could have this. And then we just got jack of it and we were like, fuck it, we'll do it.
Yeah, okay.
And so, yeah, we did that. And since then, like the attrition rates from our more recent grads who've had that stuff, it's improved exponentially.
Wow.
For that. So yeah, we internally we term it and like we track it as if someone deregisters and stuff, we've got different categories, and one of them is like that we call it, is it like assessor fail. Oh, yeah. Has their assessor failed them in preparing them for the reality of the industry? Yep. And that's the thing that we hate the most. So
yeah, wow. Oh, well, obviously something so simple and logical has a profound effect on the outcome.
But like you know these things, right? But like how many practitioners or like aspiring professionals that are coming into the industry are aware of this stuff?
Oh, probably not a lot. No.
Yeah. And like there's jobs, but like, like if someone does the cert, right? What are the jobs that someone who completes a cert would get? Like you can work under someone.
Yeah, you can.
Yep. What else could you do?
No, it's not a lot of opportunity.
You could work at a supplement store.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
you can. Yeah.
That's pretty much it. At a cert level, like you can, and we have members that employ other members. There's other professionals and stakeholders and employers in the industry that even if they're not members, they employ our members and stuff. So we know we've got the relationships with them. But that's sort of it in terms of the most common jobs. And when someone's then done more, there's like say they've got like a level set, they're complying with ANSCO. There's other things they can do. Then it's like. Now you can like work with companies for formulations, you can work with like menus, you can do all that kind of stuff, but like there's still not an abundance of those jobs.
No, there's not. No, it's still very niche.
Yeah, and a lot of people get into the industry with like these three are typically like their big three in terms of things they want to satisfy. It's like fulfillment is most commonly number one.
Oh yeah.
And then there'll be some elements of financial stability or financial goals mixed with freedom and flexibility.
Yep.
And it's like, so the people that are coming, they're like, I like this is fun, I want to help people, I'm passionate for it, all that kind of stuff. But then they've got this interesting mix of flexibility and financial goals that I don't even think they're aware of, like the cognitive dissonance or the conflict and contradiction that they have with those two things.
Yeah.
And so like looking at those things and how they relate to one another, or like when you talk to people and you're like, okay, so like so people will say things like, like it's fulfillment. Don't care about the money. And you're like, cool. So would you do it for free? Oh, well, I got to live. And it's like, cool. So what's the number?
Yeah.
Oh, the number's 150,000 a year. Okay. What type of lifestyle are you looking for as well? Oh, well, like I want to do this, and I don't want to work this many things. And it's like, cool. So like what you're looking for, you can't really, like, I know you're asking about employment, but like, though, like, even if you met the stuff that I know the people who are going to employ you, are looking for, you're not going to want that job anyway.
Probably not.
No. The only thing that actually is going to give you everything, like give you your cake and allow you to eat it too, is actually in private practice where it's professional services.
Yep.
And the clients that you're working with.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, like you got a family, man. Like, how could you be as flexible as you are for your family and like have a 9 to 5 under someone else, but then earn what you earn?
Oh, yeah, I completely agree.
It's one of these things, and so I think that's an interesting thing that I've observed over the years as well, man. Yeah.
There's probably a lot of those sort of observations you make over the growth of the business too, I suppose.
Yeah.
Experience the difference with Matt Glynn at Code Property Group. With a 20-year reputation of a clean business, Matt is your guy when it comes to all things real estate. Make sure you give him a call now on 0404 315 066. Talk to me about the importance of the cert in the landscape today. Not only from a trainer or a coach's point of view in terms of adding that as an additional service or additional qualification, but also even just a client looking to engage someone. You mentioned very early on about the claim rate and all those sorts of things. Is it still escalated in that, or is it still high, or is it dulled down because you've got a footprint now?
Yeah, we've definitely improved things. So like we in a few areas, like I'm able to sit back and go, hey, we've done some really good things. Not because of me. If people think like I'll drive a lot of it, and as you know, Paul, like you can sort of like feel my energy with things. Like my thing is like I'll bring energy and I'll be like, this is what we're doing.
Absolutely.
And we can come, consolidate a singular thing and be on mission then. And then I can go head down, bum up and do that. Yep. That doesn't help on its own. That doesn't help make some impact that we've had. So it's because of people like yourself and the Joeys and stuff that we've been able to make good headway in spaces like Comprep and stuff where you can go to a show and you remember what it was like. Yeah. 7-8 years ago, you go to shows and it was just people were cooked.
That's an understatement.
And that was the majority of people. Whereas now you go to a show and it's like there's a good chunk of people that are healthy. They've prepped well.
Good energy.
They're happy. Yeah. Like it's shifted. So for me, I'm like, to a degree, like job's done, right?
Yep.
And I say this to people. Whereas, the Joeys and the the Alleys and stuff, they're still there. Like I go to shows maybe like once or twice a year now.
Sure.
And like I probably only went to 3 or 4 shows a year back in the day anyway, so I've only cut it by half.
Yeah.
There's just like 3 times the amount of shows.
Yeah, there is.
So there's so many, and so like they're still telling me of the horror stories and stuff. So for them, it's like that Kobe Bryant clip where he's up in the finals, whatever it is, and he's like, "Job's not done, job's not done." Like, and he's real cold. That's the mentality that they have, and so the reason we've been able to have like a positive effect in some of these areas is because of the people that like we work with and we have as a part of the program and stuff, and the members, because otherwise I'd be like, yeah, kicking back, hey, that's done. But they're like, job's not done. And so, I think, like to answer your question specifically around the importance of the cert, it's like we say, it's the gold standard of foundational education. There's so many different areas of importance for it. Like, speaking to that point before about the people looking to get into the industry, and like how they would have like conflicting ideas but not be aware of it.
Yes.
Even like people don't understand like just the math of and like the importance of sequence.
Yeah.
And so, and when I say the importance of sequence, it's like doing specific things in the right order, and how if you do it that way, it's so much more effective, and it will get you ahead by years.
Yep.
Both professionally, financially, all that kind of stuff. And so, I've got a very global view with this, especially from a members level, right? Like my things now in the organization are like, what are these projects that we can work on? Okay, I'll do that, and I'll be in tunnel vision on those. And then I really step back and I'm like, how can we best help the members? How can we best help the members? How can we best help the public?
Yep.
Are the members screwing anything up with the public that we need to stop them doing? And then what are they doing that's awesome, and how can we best support them to do more of that? And so some of the things like I look at it and I go, there's 2 things that I want to help them solve for. One is where to get clients, and how to help them. That's the first order of or the bottom part of the pyramid, like the Eric Helms pyramids or whatever.
Yep.
The second one is then how to not be a dumbass with your money. Because a lot of people in our industry and colleagues of ours, they make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like when I was a service provider, and I had clients, I made way more money personally than I do as an employee of the organization.
Okay.
And that's and that money that I made as service provider is how I was able to get into the property market and stuff. And I've done pretty well in property as a result of that. But you make a lot of revenue.
Yep.
Like the average, like we poll the members, right? Like the average member, like the average full-time practitioner member is doing like $180,000 a year.
It's impressive.
That's most of them, that's above the median income in Australia.
Absolutely.
For full-time workers. So it's, there's some crazy figures. Just in last year's audit, there was someone doing over $650,000 a year.
Yeah, wow.
So like crazy numbers, as far as that goes. But like financial literacy is really important. And so I say all this to say that, like, to loop it back to sequence and the cert, is that we get people who are like, I'm looking at doing a degree, or I'm looking at this. And the cert, one of the avenues that the cert is so important for is like the order in which you get into it.
Yep.
So we were saying before, like, do the cert to work out if this is for you. Don't spend 40 grand in 4 years to then go, oh shit, I don't want to do this.
Yep.
5 grand in 6 months, and then spend the next 12 months working in it. You'll have at least earned back that investment, and then you can go, yes, this is for me or not. And if it's not for you, that for us, and you've gone, that's not for me, but you've had our support, we haven't failed you. The assessors have supported you. You've come into the industry with your eyes wide open.
Yeah.
You've got a realistic plan, and then you've gone, guys, thank you so much. This just isn't for me. That's a win. To me, I'm like, that's a really good worst case scenario. That's far better than the alternative, which is 4 years and 40 grand, fucking need a job, all that kind of stuff. So for me, that's the first thing, is like, get in and work out if this is for you first. Then if you have, this is where the sequence really kicks and like the compounding effect of it comes in. Then if you're like, I want to be a full-time practitioner, I know I've got to go and do this later. Well, now all those student fees, they're tax deductible.
Yeah, right.
Now you're graduating with a full book of clients. Not going, fuck, where's my job going to come from?
Exactly.
And so the difference in the final positions are, this person that studied, with a compare the pair, that person that did the cert, worked out if it was for them and paid for their student fees, they're not graduating 40 grand in the hole. They're probably graduating with 120 grand income at that point, versus someone that graduates with no job and 40 grand in the hole.
Yeah.
And that's where it's extremely powerful. And I don't want to make it about the money, but I highlight this to say, you're here and you guys are doing this stuff because you want to help people. And life's too short to be fucking around with finance stuff that's avoidable. And so if we can just do it in the right order, it makes it so much easier. So you can then just focus on doing what's actually important, which is helping people.
Yeah.
And then, yes, you need financial literacy. You need to learn that stuff. But that's just an example of that. So it's important for that level, just in that capacity. And it's then you look at the other things and we go, okay, we have so many people being oh, I'm shopping you and others. And it's the others don't comply with ANSCO. Our program is the equivalent of a graduate certificate. A grad cert's a level 8.
Yep.
The only reason, technically, it would meet ANSCO, but grad certs are only 6-month programs. Part of the bachelor's is you're looking at a certain amount of time in the trenches, which is why it has to be our cert into either a bachelor's or a grad dip, which then ticks the minimum amount of hours on that thing as well.
Yep, gotcha.
And so we've got people will be oh, I'm shopping this. It's well, you're not going to comply with ANSCO. The other stuff doesn't have a clear scope of practice. They'll be these Cert 4s in nutrition, because there's a few different providers doing these now.
Yes.
And they'll be you can be a nutritionist, and it's basically the emperor's clothes, because if you can register, you're registering, and your scope of practice doesn't have personalized nutrition services. And any association that's allowing you to register, for instance, there's IICT, International Institute of Complementary Therapies. There's also, I think it's ANTA, Australian Natural Therapy Association.
Oh, yeah.
They will allow you to register. They're actually really good associations, because they will they actually state it publicly on their website and stuff. If you do not comply with a level 7 or higher, then it is advice only.
Yep.
The other ones, they'll say, the other associations that allow you to register and stuff with the Cert 4, they'll say, yes, you can do meal plans, but then, on the phone to you. But then, when you look at all their stuff that they put in writing publicly and what they publicly disclose, it's all advice and counselling. and for those that are looking at doing this or anything like that, that's the same thing as a PT has already.
Yep.
In the Oz Active scope of practice, it says you can provide advice based on the healthy eating guidelines. Advice is non-personalized. It's non-prescriptive.
Right. Yep.
It's nothing like that. If you're charging for a service and you're saying, okay, I want you to have 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, that's a personalized intervention now.
Very much.
And that's what they don't understand. So every now and then we get people who are I'm shopping this, and this, and we're just look, we'll just make you aware of it. It's your decision at the end of the day. It doesn't really bother us. We just want you to be protected. But that comes down to the third level, and it's to the clients, and this is ultimately what it's all about. They're not being taught the things that they need in order to be effective as well as safe.
Yep.
They're not and client centered. They're not taught things like Cone B for behavior.
Yep.
So you're going to get the macro coach Steve's basically being you need more discipline, and it's that person doesn't have the skill to execute that thing, and you don't know that they don't have the skill because you don't know how to assess it. And now you're treating them like shit and making them feel like a failure because you're expecting them to have a skill that you don't even know how to screen for. And now that person may not ever engage a professional in the future because of that negative experience.
Yeah, well.
And so that's just an example at a behavioral level. And then you've got all the things that you need to screen for in terms of medical risk, contraindications, all that kind of stuff. They're the things that can be exacerbated, and someone can, you see it all the time. We have good practitioners, and the reason why we have insurance is things can go awry. I know, for instance, Joey, it was a year or so ago, and he was this client's not responding. We're deep in prep. What do you think? And I was I'll ask Helm, see what he thinks, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. And they looked at a couple of things, and then the client's sleep was so bad, and they was just nah, we're pulling him. So you can have the most evidence-based plan, and it's still, things can go funny.
Ineffective, yeah.
Now, then you've got the ability to plug into our network, ask these things, get access to these people, so that way you don't need to use your insurance. But if that's a coach that doesn't have access to these things, then they maybe persist. The client gets on stage, passes out on stage, all that kind of stuff, and then they're up shit creek, right? Whereas, and that's why you have your insurance, because there's some things are just unavoidable.
Yep.
But in terms of claim numbers and that stuff, they're higher. It's all non-disclosure settlements, though. In terms of like major like investigations that have like public scrutiny and public awareness, that stuff you're only going to see that every once or like once every 2 years or so. There's going to be some sacrificial lamb that gets name and shamed to then fix things. They're like the most recent claims that we have that like that people have public awareness for are you got Norman Lowe in Adelaide from I think it was late 2021 or 2022.
I think I remember that.
And then there was the girl in Texas that got sued for like a lot of money. The state actually sued her.
Oh, wow.
So it wasn't even a civil claim or anything like that. Both of these were state interventions. So South Australian Health Commissioner and Norman Lowe, and so they're the ones that get publicised. Where it's civil, it's a non-disclosure settlement. And so what happens is it's not there, it's not public record or anything like that. And the reason why the claims are up is because the industry is bigger. So it's not like you get people where it's like we've had more stupid shit. The industry's bigger. We've got a similar amount of stupid shit going on relative to the size of the industry. There's just more of it happening. And that's where it's like, from our end, we just want to make sure that people are really clear on what their exact scope of practice is. Not what some person's told them on the phone to G them up like the Emperor's clothes. Oh, you got this, and yes, a Cert 4 in nutrition. Don't worry about the ANSCO standards. Like, even though the government has a clear position on it, you can do meal plans. And then, but the scope, and some of these insurance policies as well, like the scope doesn't say it. So the scope doesn't back up what's being said. And then also on the insurance policy, there's the final step when you take it out. It's called a duty of disclosure. And so you're saying, I am acknowledging that I am appropriately qualified. I am appropriately registered. And then when it comes to the registration on those insurance policies, it actually says I am appropriately registered with the national board and hyperlinks to AHPRA, the AHPRA website. Well, there's no nutrition part of AHPRA. So like those policies are worthless. They don't have to cover them.
Oh dear.
And so, like to the members of the public, it's really concerning because that coverage is there. It's like your car insurance. If you go up someone's ass, bam, we got insurance, we're all good. You're always stressing when you hit that person or that person hits you. Like my partner had it 18 months ago. She had this young guy rear end her at a set of traffic lights, wasn't paying attention. The light went green to turn right. He went with those people. It was red for the people going straight, went straight up her butt. And it was this 19-year-old guy in a 25-year-old Holden Commodore. She knew he had no insurance. As soon as she looked, she was like, fuck, I'm not going to get this repaired. I don't know how this is going to work, all this kind of stuff. Anyway, fortunately, the damage wasn't too bad. And there was witnesses there. And they were like, we've gone recorded it, blah, blah, blah. We got his thing. So if it's not done, we'll support a police report. And he didn't have insurance, but the damage wasn't too bad. So we just paid cash. And so that was fine. So that worked well. But everyone knows that feeling. It's like, oh, shit. And the thing is like, you don't want someone to have to leverage their house to cover something that just happens. That's even if they own a property and they're secure or anything like that. And I would say the percentage of people in the industry that are financially secure to be able to cover, I don't know, 10, 20 grand worth of damages, like it's probably only 30 or 40% of the industry. And so, like that's where the risk is. It's like, there's risks in anything that you do. You go see someone, hey, I want to do keto or anything like that. And and your coach is like, even some of our members, they might be like, hey, we'll support you with that. We think you should have more carbs. But let's start here and see how you go. You're doing a lot of high intensity training, but I know you want to do that. So let's go up over time. And you're 3 weeks in. Their plan is to up your carbs at week 6. You've done a CrossFit session and you've gone hypoglycemic and you faint and crack your head. You're not dead, but you can't work for a week or so. You can cuss, whatever it is. That's where you'd need to get like some cash in that instance.
Absolutely.
And you want to like you don't want them to be like, oh, I'm going to pull it out of my offset account or whatever it is. You just want to know, bam, we can just fill it out like that car accident and be all good.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, in Australia, we've got about 750 professional members. Internationally, we're sitting just under 900, like including internationals, we're sitting just under 900.
Yep.
And we're just under 750, I should say. So, yeah, it's one of these things where they all have those policies. How big's the industry?
Yeah, well, that's a good question.
Like if we're saying non-dietitians, there's probably like another, I would say in Australia, 5,000 to 10,000 people out there practicing in some capacity that they don't have that coverage for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So to the public, I would just say, like, if they're on our registry, great. Otherwise, go work with a dietitian that's registered with Dietitians Australia.
Yep.
Or if you want a souped up sports dietitian, go for them as well. There's another place, I mentioned a couple before, like IICT and ANTA. IICT with nutrition, I don't know too much about what they look for with the higher levels. So I don't think that I'm saying it's amazing or it's shit. I just don't know. So I'd rather just say I don't know.
Yep.
ANTA, they're going to have great coverage. There's a form of clinical nutritionists and an association called ARPAN. They're amazing as well. But in order to be an ARPAN member, you got to do a very specific type of degree.
Right.
You have to have 300 hours of clinical practice.
Yeah, wow.
And you have to pick the specific subjects that they require in order for you to then. So even if you're in the degree but you don't pick the right electives, you're still not going to be able to register with them.
Wow, that is specific.
Yeah. So like they're the ones. Get them. There's clear scope of practice. It's all compliant with ANSCO. There's no get out of jail free cards with the insurers. And I think you just got to remember, like, insurers don't want to have to cover.
Yep.
So that's something that we want to,
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess, just have the public aware of. So they're the three things, right? It's like public safety first and foremost. Then we go back up and we say, like, relative to like Cert 4 programs that are being pushed. Hey, like, nutritionist isn't a professional title. Anyone can call it. Yes, they can, but then there's ANSCO. So if you conflict with ANSCO, then you become liable. So it's not as simple as that. So that's your, all the like, I guess the emperor's clothing of nutrition qualifications. And then you've got the sequence, which is the very first thing. And it's like, just do the shit in the right order.
Yeah.
And if you can do that, it'll make it easier. It almost takes like money and stress off the table. You're going to stress. Like when you're a new practitioner, you're going to stress about it. But the difference is you're stressing about it after 6 months of studying $5,000 as opposed to 4 years and $40,000.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Big difference, right?
Yeah.
You touched on their contest prep. Now, obviously, you've ventured into that space with the accreditation you've got. You've seen the change backstage in terms of people's well-being, being looked after by obviously more qualified and registered coaches, etc. Is there more that you're going to do in that space? Because obviously the industry itself, in terms of bodybuilding, is growing at an astronomical rate. Like there's now, I think,
dude, it's crazy.
Last count, there's like 20 federations in Australia. It's unreal.
I honestly can't believe it. And now they're looking at like a fourth season. Like we know there's a C season, but they're talking about a D season.
Yeah.
Dude,
full time. You can be a full time bodybuilder.
It's like it's honestly, it's like we're going back to the days when like the 90s when they were just competing all the time. Yeah. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's definitely it's definitely not my thing. I'm jack of all trades sporting wise. So I like it, but I like swimming and like distance and endurance stuff as well as strength stuff and stuff. So I could never. I prepped. I think it was 12 years ago now, once. So I've had my taste. So it's one of these things where there's way more to do. What we're like part of the projects that are on the go at the moment that I can't talk too much about at the moment is some stuff with that.
Okay.
So I'll fill you in afterwards.
Sure. Appreciate it.
Really, it's more about like just putting it in the hands of the members now. Formed a committee, and this is, I guess, more next steps for the association, right? Again, it's like it's beyond me. It's like the association isn't me. Yep. The association is the members and the community.
Yep.
And so part of what we've worked on internally with what we've been refining and distilling within the organization is getting really clear on what that student or that prospective student through to member journey should look like. Mm-hmm. And so we've got this model now where we have what we want their experience to look like. Yep. And so we want them to come in as a prospective student, have a good experience, and come in eyes wide open. Mm-hmm. Become a student, be supported to fail forwards for the realities of the industry. So that way, by the time they're graduating with runs on the board and real relevant experience.
Yep.
Then we want them to work out over that next 12 to 18 months, even though they've got 3 years, we want them to work it out in 12 to 18 months if this is for them and how they want to be doing it.
Yeah, okay.
For those who are like, this isn't for me, we want to go, cool. We want to make sure that they've been supported on their way through and out, and it's a positive thing for them. It's not a loss for us in that thing. For the others where it's like, I'm going to be a part-time practitioner or a casual practitioner, not full-time, it's like, cool, we're just going to nurture you in this and support you in this. And we're going to be here with you for the next 5-10 years in the same capacity. Yep. And if you ever want to go beyond, then book a call with us and we'll help you work out what grad dip, uni program, that type of stuff. Similar to like when you were sending me through stuff, hey, I got this opportunity for a master's. I'm like, dude, that's unreal.
Yeah.
You were like, oh, should I do one of these grad dips? And I was like, no.
Yeah.
Do that. Like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And so like, we want people to have that experience and to be able to like ask those questions. And so, then it's like, cool. Then people who are like yourself that have gone on, they're doing a master's pathway with this thing. It's like, shit, support you to do it. And then when you come out on the other end, it's like, a lot of people are like, oh, what next? It's like, give back to the community.
Yeah.
That's like, that's the life cycle that we want. It's like, you're like, you are a specialist. You're soon to be in even more of a specialist. Once that's happened, it's like, we want to immerse you into the community to then help us help them, because we're not going to have, we're not going to impact, we're not going to get 10,000 members, we're not going to, or even potentially beyond, none of that's going to happen if we're not looking after the professional community.
Yep.
And so, prep wise, like what we realized was that, hey, this is what the experience needs to look like. Cool. Let's form some committees in areas where they're like specialized niche areas, and like, let's have these committees be for these voluntary, they get paid, but it's like, it's not close to client rates. Like if you're a committee member, you get paid $60 a meeting.
Yeah, right.
So it's like, who has the time? Who wants to be a part of these committees? So we've got a physique prep committee every year, every 2 years. In that one, we'll publicly advertise, because some people that are involved in it won't be able to be involved in it long term. And we go, hey, who wants to be on a committee with that stuff? Then we've got a members and events, members, events and community committee to just help engage the community. Yep. From there. So they're the two ones that we've got at the moment. Oh, and there's a third, which is a weight making and weight cutting and weight restoration thing for the fighters and all that stuff as well. That committee is less member voluntary. We've only got 2 members that are a part of that. The rest are like PhD researchers and doctors, because it's just so like, it's high risk, high reward.
Absolutely. You
got to have those people involved. So we got fight doctors and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And the researchers. So they're the 3 things, but basically prep wise, it's like, it's in the hands of the committee. I'll help facilitate some of that stuff, but it's really them. And it's like, to a broader extent, it's really you, the members, ultimately determine what's there. It's just we do things, I guess, based on merit. We're not going to have someone that's just done like a show be like, I'm going to be on the prep committee. It's like, you got to be openly accredited. Yep. You've got to have, got your runs on the board with it. I think the next round that they'll look at it, I think will be this time next year, because it's like, it'll be 2, like we're just at a year now. So with 2 years.
Okay.
So then that'll be like, hey, who wants to do it? And if someone like yourself, right, you might be in the middle of your, you'll have some prac or some like crazy subjects with your masters at that point. And so you might be like, I'm shit for the next 6 months, but I want to do this in 9 months time or something, all going well.
Yep. They'll
just be like, ultimately, that's not even something that I ever say, and they'll just vote on it. Like, it's just a democratic process in that.
Yep.
But that's the type of thing that will come up, and they'll decide. And it's like their thing. Each committee will have their, I guess, like their smaller mission and intention as that links back to the bigger one that we have at an association level, but it's specific to that thing. So the prep stuff is like, how do we improve the standard of contest prep in Australia at the moment, and how do we get people aware of, like, increase awareness of safer preps? And that's what they're looking to solve as far as that goes. So, what that looks like in 2 years' time, I don't know. Again, like, back to your original thing, like, is there some plan?
Yeah.
It's like, no, there isn't. It's more just like, if we have the right people and we trust in them, like I don't know, like I know a bit about prep, but like I don't know jack shit about prep relative to them. So it's like they just do it. They know it. And as long as we're doing things with the right intentions and stuff, then it'll go in the right direction. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's good. No, it's good that there's at least it's something that's been looked at, because obviously, as you said, go back 7 to 10 years ago, it was diabolical what you were seeing backstage with water depletion and people starving and all these sorts of things. So,
and like we still have it, right?
Unfortunately, we do. Yeah.
And the thing is like the irony is, genetics just trump everything anyway. So like when Helms won his pro card, the guy that beat him in the overall,
I remember I was there.
Yeah, he was super dehydrated.
Yeah.
Helms is like, I feel so good, and it was like the most evidence-based prep. And then you get on stage and he's got 10 kilos of like more lean mass in him. It's like, yeah, like he's gonna win. Like, and so like, like you can nail everything right from a nutrition perspective. It's like it's not gonna mean that you're gonna beat someone's genetics on the day.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so like you still have it, and like that was such an interesting juxtaposition for me, because I was like, that was such a perfect metaphor for the industry, where it's like, you can have the best plan and you can do it the best way, and you're going to be super healthy when you do it, and then you got the person who's like dehydrated and like compromising health a bit and all that stuff, and they still win.
That's just how it is.
Yeah.
Not final question, but close to the end, because we've been going. How long have we gone now? Over an hour, yeah, hour 10. Amazing. You could talk about this for days.
Yeah, man. Shit, I have to wrap up in like 3 minutes though.
Okay, all right. Well, quickly, is there any opportunity, or is this something maybe in the books, whether you can talk about it or not, where there's an integration of this type of learnings for teenagers and school leavers?
Absolutely, yes.
I've asked you this question about my own daughter.
Yeah.
And it's a possibility of her venturing into this.
So that thing that I said we were working on,
it
will be. It's probably like it'll be live in about 12 to 18 months.
Okay.
Provided like the cascade of things sort of happens. Yeah.
Unreal.
But yeah, that's the goal, is to basically be able to like provide a foot in the door, and like could they come into the cert, which is a grad cert equivalent.
Yep.
You asked about your daughter and stuff, and it's like if she picks these subjects and she nails these things in high school, there's a possibility at the moment, yes, for that.
Okay.
Eventually, there will be a big, because the reason for that is if they pick those subjects and they know those subjects, then they can come into this, yes.
Yeah, gotcha.
But if they haven't, and it's just another high schooler, the grades aren't good and they don't know this stuff, they would absolutely fail the cert.
Yeah.
And so then it's like, well, what do? There will be programs where people like that can then just come into it. Like you grade 11 up and then just
easier.
Go into it from there.
100%. All right. Well, if you got to run, mate, we'll wrap up.
Yeah, that was one of my staff being like,
absolutely.
that was one of my staff being like, I've got someone that I booked in for you at 11:30. I need you to get on the phone.
Well, I appreciate it, mate. Thank you very much for your time. It's great to
pleasure.
see the industry coming along as quickly as it has, and as I guess accredited as it has, and obviously you've led the charge a lot of the way. So we'll have to touch base again on another podcast.
Yeah, man.
End of March, maybe somewhere around there.
Yeah. That's it. And I'm a local now, man. So it's easy.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. All right. Well, thanks, Alex. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, bro.
Well, Alex had to rush off really quickly. Obviously, very busy man. So I'd like to thank him publicly for his time today. As you can tell, he's incredibly passionate about sports nutrition, about people practicing correctly under an accredited system, but also the public getting more awareness around what is right and what is wrong, and learning from those that can provide proper service within sports nutrition itself. So if you're interested in learning more about sports nutrition, obviously they've got an amazing accreditation program. Jump across to the Sports Nutrition Association website and have a look at what they offer there. They've also obviously got their contest prep accreditation plus some other courses. Follow them along on Instagram as well as Sports Nutrition Association. Now, if you're interested in any of my coaching services, FYI, I am an accredited sports nutritionist. Please jump on my website, paulsbodyengineering.com, or have a look at my link in bio on my Instagram page, Paul's Body Engineering, or simply send me a DM or a message, and I'll be more than happy to answer any of your questions. But apart from that, it's been a wonderful chat with Alex, so I thank him once again. And as I say to every client, every single day, have a great day.